Putting has often been called a game within a game, and there's no question, no matter how well you hit the ball, you've got to knock those putts in to score well. And one of the things that I've noticed in Nick's game over the last 2 or 3 years is how much better his putting is.
Well, exactly, Dave. I think if you've seen the way that I used to putt, 4 or 5 years ago, and I'd strike the ball pretty well, and now I've started hitting the ball a lot better, and my putting's improved, and there's been a couple of factors that have really helped me.
I know you've really worked hard at it, and I think a lot of golfers out there would be shocked to know how much time the pros actually spend on the greens, because it is half the game after all.
And just like with the long game, there are a lot of things that apply in the long game that you do in your short game. Ideally, when we were working on the pitching and the short game there, you'd see that we were using the chest a lot and the shoulders a lot, and not too much hands and wrists. And I think that's something that we're going to show here now.
Right, precisely, because one of the things that I see with so many good players is the fact that when they start putting poorly, what happens is they start to over-control the putter. In other words, they get a little tight there, their hands and arms control it, and their bigger muscles in the chest and the shoulders don't work. And as a result, it's tough to be consistent. You really need to get those big muscles working, just like in the full swing.
It's much easier to control the bigger muscles at a constant speed than flipping it with the wrists or with the arms.
Right, so, I mean, those little nerves in those hands, tend to get a bit twitchy, and that's when people start to get the yips. So we can start to get the bigger muscles working. That's why the long putter has become so favorable these days with some of the senior players, because it enables them to keep the hands out of it and gets the big muscles working. So let's just illustrate what we see at times with some players who fail to use their shoulders. I want you to really focus on his shoulders and just see how his hands and arms tend to control the club. Right, now there's a little bit of shoulder movement there, but not nearly enough. And the big thing is it's very hard to judge your speed. Remember, the most important thing in putting certainly is speed, distance, as opposed to direction. Certainly direction's important, but speed is more important. And you get that, I think, with those big muscles working. So let's have another putt here. Have a practice putt, in fact, and I'm going to work your shoulders. And let's see how let's do it without the ball. Okay, now, let's see. I'm going to work the shoulders. All right, you can see the feeling is if I put my hand between Nick's elbows, you can see the whole thing's working together. It's like the right shoulder's going back and up on the back swing. Let's swing it back here and stop, right? Now, as he works through, the left shoulder's moving up and through, and the chest is moving to the target. They're not actually working on a perfect vertical path. It's not totally like a pendulum, but certainly they're working in a way where as the right shoulder moves back and around, the left shoulder moves up and through, and the chest opens towards the target. So let's hit a putt here with me controlling your shoulders, and we'll let you do it on your own. Now that's good. You could see, really, there was more speed there with not so much effort. You didn't have to actually hit at the putt, did you?
That's right. And a lot of times from this distance, you're not really trying to hold it. You're trying to get it close. Very, very few putters that I've ever seen or played with actually make putts from this distance consistently. What most guys try and do is just try and get it close, and if you have the right weight, you're not going to three-putt. Well, with my old setup, I used to stand very open, and I used to have my shoulders tilted up like this, and like a common fault to many players, I just used to use my hands and my arms and hit up on the ball. And it's very, very difficult to control the speed and the distance that you're going to hit the ball.
So to help change that, and obviously what you were focusing on was more your shoulders, right? I think the first thing you worked on was your setup, correct?
First thing I did, Dave, was I changed my setup. I started standing square to the ball. I now got 65 or 70% of my weight on my left side.
For balance?
Right, and also just for a good steady base. I started straightening my back out to improve my posture so that my shoulders would hang a little more over the ball.
Yeah, it's amazing how posture comes into it again, as with the full swing. If you get a good setup, it allows you to do certain things, doesn't it?
And I think that's one of the biggest things that's helped me. And once I'm comfortable over the ball, I put my putter in front of the ball just to help me with my alignment. And I'm trying all this time to take the tension out of my shoulders, trying to stay as comfortable and soft with the shoulders as I possibly can.
Yeah, I think a good point to note here too is by setting up in this way, especially with your weight a little more forward and your back straight, it's actually leveled your shoulders out. Because if you look at so many of the great putters, their shoulders are pretty level, which encourage them to work. If you get your shoulders too tilted, it tends to just make you use your arms.
Absolutely. So once we're in this position, then once I get comfortable, bring the putter back over the ball, and now I feel that I'm comfortable, not only with my posture, but that I'm aiming in the correct spot. Now just a nice smooth stroke.
Now your shoulders are working well there, aren't they? Oh, how about that?
I think we made it.
Pity the flag stood in, 2-shot penalty there. Well, all the hard work and effort we've done so far, Nick, leads us up to this point, which is really learning what a good routine is all about and how you can do it each time on the golf course to enable you to hit consistent shots.
And one of the great things about a routine, David, is that even if you are under pressure like we face in the major championships, when you get down to the last hole and you are a little tight and that, if you do have a good routine, it's going to help you to take the same amount of time on each shot, whether it's a drive or whether it's a chip or a putt. It's so you don't rush and you don't go too slowly in some cases, but you take the same amount of time, and of course the more we can get consistency in our routine, the more consistency we're going to have on our shots.
Well, we're creatures of habit, and if we can learn to do the same thing each time, we've got much more chance of hitting repetitive golf shots. And the thing I see, the big fault I see with many amateurs, or even some top players at times, especially if they're working very hard on their swing, they lose their routine. If they have a routine, it's inconsistent, and as a result, their shots are going to be inconsistent. So it really is an integral part of playing good golf.
Well, normally my caddy and I will have made the decision as to what club we're going to take. In this case, I got a 9-iron here, a slight bit of wind against. Pull the club out, tee a ball up. And then I normally walk 2 or 3 paces behind the ball, keeping the ball between me and my target line. Once I've focused on the shot that I'm trying to hit, which is also an important thing, whether I want to draw it or whether I may want to fade it, in this case I just want to hit a regular straight shot, I'll come in from behind the ball in an open position, place the club down behind the ball, making sure it's aiming where I want the ball to go, and then align my feet to my target. Now I have a couple of waggles just to get nice and comfortable. And I think of my first move back from the ball, which in this case is going to be a nice, slow, smooth move. Usually, David, I'm thinking about one thing. Either it's something with my takeaway or something in my ball position, but really something that's just going to key me in, maybe something I've been working on in the practice tee, and that's about it.
Yeah, too many key thoughts get you too technical and too tight.
Right, and you basically forget to hit the shot that you're about to play.
Yeah, I think what people need to realize too, they need to practice their routine on the practice tee so it becomes just as instinctive as their golf swing.
I think it's really important, as we spoke about earlier, establishing your rhythm. And if you start doing your routine really quickly, you're going to get into a fast pace in your golf swing.
Okay, good. And a good routine really gets you focused on your target, where you want the ball to go, not how you want it to go.
Very much so.
All right, well, let's have a look at you doing the real thing, shall we? Perfect, just as you visualized it.
Not too bad, huh?
Well, Nick, it's been great doing this tape with you. I hope the golfers at home really learn a lot. There's a lot of information here, and as we all know, it takes time to get these things right.
Well, thanks, Dave. I've enjoyed the days we've spent together doing this video. And, you know, this game, we must remember, is a constant improving and a learning circle. You never, ever stop learning in this game, and I think we've done that in the last 8-10 years. Just carried on improving and learning more.
I think if we keep working hard at it, we might have you ready for the senior tour.
Oh, thanks a lot.